Hey, it's Colleen.
Hi, it's Kate.
And it's Megan.
And we're the
Three Scheme Queens. Join us as we discuss popular hoaxes and give you our comedic take on what is fact and what is fiction. If you have a sense of humor and an open mind, come take this journey with us.
We'll tell you what we think, and we'll try to prove it to you.
Is this thing on?
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to 3SQHQ.
3 for 3 on all three of us together.
Yeah. Should we do an episode where we talk like this the whole time?
The whole time, like ASMR.
I thought that was your Marilyn Monroe voice.
No, this is my late night radio show. Yeah, the late night. This is The Ride. Delilah. Next up, Kenny. What's his name?
Kenny G?
Rogers. Kenny G.
There was, when we were,
Urban Boy loves Kenny G.
this was like many, many years ago.
Yeah.
I think we had like a family vacation
Right.
somewhere tropical. Me and my brother, my sister went to the bar and there was like some music.
Uh-huh.
And my brother texted my parents and their friends that Kenny G was playing. And they come racing in like,
Wait,
what? Kenny G's here? It was not Kenny G.
What's the character from Mean Girls?
which one?
Katie Harry?
The Indian who raps. Isn't his name Kenny G?
It's from
Yeah, the guy from the Mathletes.
Yeah, the Mathletes guy. Isn't his name
Oh.
Kenny G?
Oh, it's Kevin G. Kevin the four.
10%.
10%.
I was close.
We're not going to spend too much time chit-chatting because we got a lot to say today. So
All right.
let's just get into our
Drink check.
We're having some sparkling wine.
Ooh, I love a bubble. Champagne problems.
We really splurged
We splurged hard.
on some Vouv.
Popping bottles.
So good, isn't it? Don't we feel real fancy?
She is very, very, very.
I love a bubbly.
Fun fact, guys.
What's the fun fact?
Well, champagne was Marilyn Monroe's favorite drink.
I believe that.
That
you
sounds
know-
so girly.
She once took a bath in 350 bottles of champagne. That just seems like someone who has too much money. I mean, shockingly, she did not have
Okay,
that much money.
Hold on.
But it seems like someone who has money to blow, you know? Like, I just feel like it'd be sticky.
That's what I said. It's going to be sticky.
I'd be hurting. I can't even use soaps with scents.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, your whole body would just be covered in rashes.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift,
Champagne problem.
last great American dynasty.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't that person fill her pool with champagne? Yeah, that's in the lyrics, and it's based on a real person. But anyway, fun fact that, yes, Marilyn Monroe once took a bath in 350 bottles of champagne. And given that she was okay off when she died, but she had some debt.
She had some champagne problems.
She did have some champagne problems. That money might have been better invested in maybe like a real psychiatrist, but we'll get to that.
Marilyn Monroe. Remember how they would say, like, oh, Marilyn Monroe was the most beautiful woman, and she was a size 8.
But she wasn't a size 8.
Yeah, well, she was a size 8, but size 8, or I think she might have been a size 12, but I
Yeah.
think a size 12 of that time was not the same as a
Oh.
size 12 of our
Yeah.
time.
But she's not as, she wasn't skinny.
She was
She was curvy.
she
Yeah.
had an hourglass,
She
yeah.
was curvaceous.
I mean, Kim Kardashian wore her dress at the
Oh, yeah.
the Met Gala,
One of them, and it was so annoying.
and she almost like busted the
broke it.
seams out,
She
yeah.
stretched it.
I said we'd finished our assassination series, which we did. JFK, MLK, RFK, those are like the big ones. But we are going to get into Marilyn
not
Monroe
she was
today.
Assassinated, right?
That's correct. That is the real mystery, is
I don't think
what
that
was her cause of death. Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jeane Mortenson 99 years ago this week. Rising to fame in the 1950s, she captivated audiences with her beauty, charm, and vulnerability. She starred in numerous successful films, including Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, The 7-Year Itch, and Some Like It Hot, solidifying her status as a Hollywood legend. Despite her glamorous public image, Norma Jeane battled with personal struggles including mental health issues, substance abuse, and a string of troubled relationships. On August 5th, 1962, Norma Jeane was found dead in her Los Angeles home at the age of 36. The official cause of death was listed as a probable suicide due to an overdose of barbiturates. A bottle of sleeping pills was found near her bed, and she had reportedly been dealing with depression in the weeks leading up to her death. However, her death has remained shrouded in mystery and controversy. Numerous inconsistencies in the timeline of her final hours, the delay in contacting authorities, and the disappearance of personal documents and records have fueled speculation that her death may not have been a simple suicide. Some believe that foul play was involved, citing her alleged affairs with high-profile political figures such as President John F. Kennedy and his brother, Robert F. Kennedy, as possible motive for a cover-up. Other theories allege involvement by the CIA or FBI to suggestions that Norma Jeane was silenced due to knowledge of state secrets. In the decades since her death, her legacy has endured. She remains a cultural icon whose image continues to captivate new generations. Whether her death was a tragic accident, a suicide, or something more sinister, it remains one of Hollywood's most tragic mysteries. Allegedly, she died of a drug overdose.
What drug?
We're going to talk about it. She had some muscle relaxants and sleeping pills in her system. Do you guys know anything beyond that?
She was young, and she was like at the peak of her career.
I know she did something with the president.
Okay, we're going to talk about all those things. She wasn't quite at the peak of her career, actually.
Oh, really?
She'd had a rough 2 years.
Oh, okay.
And yes, there's definitely some Kennedy involvement. So
Happy birthday.
let me tell you a little bit about her history, and then we'll talk about the different theories for her death.
Okay.
So a lot of her background here I listened to her autobiography on Audible.
Yes.
My Story by Marilyn
She
Monroe.
wrote it.
She did.
AI have her voice do the voiceover.
I can't stand it.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Or I don't know.
You would not think that's cool, Colleen, that AI could tell.
Have you listened to those videos though that are like that?
No.
Ugh. Like I'm sorry to go on a tangent.
Go on a tangent.
This is an AI tangent, but they found like an old skeleton body that still had its like larynx intact, and they like determined what the voice would sound like, and then AI talked for the skeleton.
Oh, that's weird.
It was so scary. So no, I don't like it.
Okay. So
I feel like they don't know, because there's so much more than just your larynx that decides how you sound.
well, I think two things about Marilyn Monroe is that, well, how was it? She was kind of cast in this, like, she wanted to be a serious actress and she was kind of cast, I think, actually sort of against her will. It's a sad story. And like typecast as this like dumb blonde, and that's why she had that breathy voice. But like, that wasn't her normal voice.
I don't think I know what she sounds like though.
But I will say, we put on, if you're an Instagram follower, every Friday we do recommended content. And this, I'm going to, we don't always talk about it in the podcast, but I'm going to say that I discovered True Crime and Cocktails, and they did a great episode on this. And then I think my other recommended content would be the autobiography, in Marilyn Monroe's words, My Story. So
True Crimes and Cocktails is kind of really cute.
Yeah.
We should have thought of that.
So Marilyn Monroe was born, you guys know her real name, right?
No.
Norma Jeane.
Yep.
Oh, that's actually a pretty name.
So she was born Norma Jeane Mortenson
Oh.
on June 1st, 1926, to a single mother, Gladys.
Is it her birthday when this episode comes out?
Gladys is such an old lady name.
Gladys had actually been married at the age of 14 to an abusive man 16 years older than her.
Whoa.
They had 2 children, and she ended up divorcing him and getting sole custody, but her ex actually kidnapped the children.
Oh my God.
So Gladys leaves. She's just a single gal working as a film negative cutter in LA, and she briefly marries Martin Mortenson. But they actually separated and then ended up divorced by the time Norma is born.
Wait, so Norma has half siblings out there?
Yes, but she didn't know about them until much later.
Okay.
When they wanted some money.
Yeah.
So getting Martin Mortenson is her alleged father. But what we now know through DNA and witness statements is that Norma's father was actually Gladys's boss, Charles Gifford. So apparently she told Charles she was pregnant. He's like, you know what? Good thing you got a husband who can be listed as the baby daddy,
That's brutal.
So on the birth certificate, her father is listed as Martin Mortenson, and underneath where it says what his profession was, it says baker. And so thus she was accidentally baptized Norma Jeane Baker.
Oh. That's weird.
Oh.
So in her autobiography, she talks about an unstable upbringing. She stayed with foster families that her mom paid, but her mom would like visit her on weekends.
Oh my God.
And then at some point she says, I finally had some stability. Like my mother purchased this home in Hollywood and Norma Jeane moved in with her at the age of 7. And they had this like British couple who lived with them who really like took care of Norma Jeane. But then the following year, Gladys had a mental breakdown and was committed for treatment of paranoid schizophrenia, which ran rampant in Norma's family. There was like an extensive medical history. A lot of family members had died in like asylums.
Was very genetic. Too,
I
right?
think her grandpa, though, might have been, I think he was like syphilis. He had like untreated syphilis, and that's what made him crazy.
Okay.
So that's not so much a genetic component, but
The Sif.
a lot of family. So at this point, she becomes a ward of the state. And again, she continues to be bounced around to various homes. And during this time, she was molested by more than one of her foster families.
Oh my God. Oh, she has had such a horrible
Oh my God, you just wait. Her whole life is just a tragedy. Her mom's friend ended up taking guardianship of her, but she still spent much of her childhood in an orphanage. It just sounds like there's like a fancier orphanage you can go to if you have someone who kind of like take responsibility for you. And I think she did live with her mom's friend for a while as well, but her mom's friend's husband assaulted her, so she got kicked out of the house.
Oh my gosh.
So she just kind of bounced around a whole bunch between homes and the orphanage. And then the last place that she was staying, they were relocating to West Virginia, and she was 15. And they said, you know what, we can't take you with us, but you know what would keep you out of the orphanage is if you get married. So
they married her off?
At the age of 16, she married her 20-year-old neighbor.
Oh my God.
And again, so it sounds like she talks about like he was a nice guy. He was pretty boring to her. Like he wasn't mean to her or anything, but this was not like a romantic marriage. This was purely to keep her out of the orphanage. And they weren't married for very long. So he was a merchant marine, and he was deployed to the Pacific for most of their marriage.
Okay.
She was actually living with his parents and working at a munitions factory when this guy came in, and he was taking photographs of women working in factories to like boost the morale of the troops.
Right.
And he
What
took
war? World War II? Isn't that when all the women went to work?
That's right, because I'm like a 1940s. Yeah, this is the 1940s. So yeah. So this is when he's like, you know what, you should be a model. And he gets her in contact with a photographer to take her photo. And her husband was like, it sounds like he wasn't totally opposed to this, but he's like, but when I get back, like, let's have a family. Yes. Let's be a mom. This modeling thing is like not going to happen. And his mother was very opposed as well, very resistant to her becoming a model. So she ended up moving out of her in-laws' house. He's still deployed, and she signs with Blue Book Model Agency in August of 1945. She kind of decides, like, you know, when you get back, I'm not trying to settle down and have kids. So she serves him with divorce papers while he's overseas. And so then, as far as her modeling career,
Dear John. Isn't that a Dear John when they do that?
Is it?
A Dear John letter when they move on.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, they're at war, and you're like, Dear John, I found someone new.
Yeah. Brutal.
So she did have some success in advertisement and men's magazines, but she really wanted to be an actress. Yes, they said, like, you're not really cut out for, like, fashion modeling, but, like, you'd be, like, a good pinup model.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, but my real goal is to act. And fortunately, she appeared in, like, so many magazines that she kind of attracted the attention of some of the film studios. And she ended up being signed by Fox and then later Columbia. But she didn't really have a ton of acting success. She just had these like small bit parts, nothing that, you know, she's famous for now. And interestingly, it was Fox who, when they signed her, said, we're going to change your name to Marilyn because that's just like catchier. And she opted to use Monroe in honor of her mother because it was her mother's maiden name. So that's where Marilyn Monroe came from.
And they just picked Marilyn randomly?
Yep.
Okay.
They just thought, Norma's not going to be a star.
So they thought she looks like a Marilyn.
They made her dye her hair blonde because she's like
not a natural blonde.
Nope, she's a brunette.
What?
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
And she did have a lot of hustle. Like they said, she would shoot all day and then she would go to her acting coach for like additional lessons. Again, not a lot of success though. gets let go by one production company, gets moved to another, and then she meets 53-year-old Johnny Hyde, the VP of the William Morris Agency, and a married father of 2.
Oh, God.
He became her sugar daddy, if you will.
Mm.
He actually left his wife and children for her, though she continued to turn down his marriage proposals, telling him that she was not in love with him. But he was able to get 23-year-old Norma cast in All About Eve and Asphalt Jungle, which those are the 2 films that really launched her career. He then negotiated her a 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox before suddenly dying at the age of 55 from a heart attack.
Mm.
So let's talk about this again, her becoming launched as a sex symbol is a very sad story because
Her whole life was like she was sexually.
yeah, I mean, from infancy. And the
Right.
way she became famous again is because when she was sort of struggling, she owed someone a favor. They said, well, will you take some pictures, some naked pictures for my calendar?
Oh, my God.
So she took these pictures for this calendar because she really needed rent money. Like, she was just a struggling
Yeah.
wannabe actress. Well, now that she sort of has a little bit of success, guess who goes back?
It always bites you.
Hugh Hefner.
Oh, she was a Playboy?
Not by choice.
Oh.
So she becomes the inaugural first ever Playmate of the Month in 1953. At this time, it was the Sweetheart of the Month.
Oh.
And again, she'd actually posed for this calendar in 1949 when she was struggling to pay bills. She was paid $50 to do this calendar shoot. Now she's got some low-key success. It's 4 years later. Hugh Hefner buys the photos for $500, publishes them in his new Playboy magazine
Right.
without her consent or anything.
Oh, my God.
And so she unknowingly becomes the Playmate of the Month.
Oh, my God.
Which is what makes her, kind of launches her as this sex symbol.
Yeah. That's sad. That is sad.
And then kind of briefly, before she dies, let's talk about her second and third marriages, okay? So that first one was really to keep her out of the...
Marriage of convenience.
Yes, marriage of convenience to a nice guy, no spark. 1954. She's dating retired baseball player Joe DiMaggio, who actually, I think she had posed for a modeling shot, with the baseball bat, she was playing baseball. And he was like, who's this girl? And he tracked her down and he was way obsessed with her. So they date for 2 years and then they marry. And apparently he does some nice things later in her life, but allegedly he was very controlling. And the last straw for them was actually when she filmed that shot, standing over the subway grate.
Oh, yeah.
He was opposed to that.
Wait,
right?
that wasn't a paparazzi shot?
That was in a movie.
I thought that was a paparazzi shot.
Actually, her makeup artist talks about how she used to have to cover up bruises because he was abusive.
Oh, my God.
In 1954, they get divorced over what her attorney said was a conflict of careers. But again, later on, DiMaggio starts to sound a little bit more like a hero. But remember, he was very controlling during their marriage. Not a good guy. He tapped her phones.
What?
And he and Frank Sinatra broke down a door because Joe DiMaggio was so convinced that she was cheating on him. He's like, Frank, get some boys together. Let's go break into her house.
What?
They bust down this door. It's the wrong door. So they bust in on some other poor girl who's asleep in bed by herself. And Sinatra actually to pay her off to
oh my God,
cried about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that marriage ends.
It sounds like he was very insecure.
He was, definitely. Again, it was he wanted to
Probably
be
short.
I think, and they said that was after they got married.
Short. I don't think so. I don't think so. He was a
I
baseball
think he was
player.
pretty tall.
Very famous. Hold on. Insecure. Hold on.
Do you know who Joe DiMaggio is?
You don't know who Joe DiMaggio is? No.
Okay. He was a famous Yankee. He was retired by the time they got
one
together.
of the best baseball players. Well, he's one of the most famous. Why would I know anything about baseball? Well, you're from Boston, and Boston hates the Yankees, and he was on the Yankees.
Why would I learn his name?
Do you know who Babe Ruth is?
Of course I do.
Well,
The candy bar. Okay.
1956. She's now 29, and she marries Arthur Miller,
Oh, I like an Arthur.
oh, we love a Miller.
famous playwright. He had written Death of a Salesman,
Oh.
and wasn't he The Crucible also? Arthur Miller did The Crucible.
Maybe.
Okay. And so she really at this point is like, I was married to Joe DiMaggio, who said I could not be more famous than him, right? Like, I want to be taken
this is giving Taylor.
seriously. And she wants to start her own production company. Arthur Miller is like the first guy who's like, I think you're smart enough to do this. So she's into it.
In a moment.
She's into it. So he's, again, really the first guy who believed in her. They got married in a small ceremony. And fast forward,
He does.
she found some not very nice notes that he had written, in which he called her a disappointment
No.
and a whore.
Oh,
And she talks a lot about how even though she didn't really want to have kids with her first husband, like at this point, she really wants to be a mom. And she's having a really hard time. She had endometriosis and had a lot of pain.
no, that's so hard.
And actually,
Understand.
if we go back to her childhood, her guardian was like a Christian Scientist.
Oh, yeah.
And went
Comes from Christian Scientist. Crazy.
we think that on my dad's side of the family,
There were some Christian scientists.
yeah, that that's where most of the Mormons were. But my grandpa's sister died of leukemia when she was like 10.
Yeah.
And when they looked through the death certificate and everything, it sounds like his parents were Christian Scientists. And so they didn't get her treatment. And that's probably why she died. But anyway, back to this story. Yeah, her guardian was a Christian Scientist, like didn't believe in any medications or anything. And so she had unbearable pain, which might lead to why she becomes an addict later. But she had 3 pregnancy losses during her marriage to Arthur Miller.
Oh.
The first baby, conceived in 1956, was lost due to miscarriage. The second baby in 1957 was lost to an ectopic pregnancy. And then the third, conceived in 1955, was also lost because of a miscarriage.
It's really hard to get pregnant when you have endometriosis.
So again, they think that this kind of probably caused her to become very depressed because she just wanted a kid and she couldn't, carry a baby to term.
Yeah.
Many people believe that these depressive episodes what led her to use amphetamines and barbiturates. So she filmed the movie Misfits, which Arthur Miller, her husband, directed.
Okay.
And during that movie, she was having behavioral issues related to drug use.
Oh, no.
And she actually was sent to an inpatient treatment center for addictions. And she was put in a padded room and she called Joe DiMaggio.
Oh.
And he busted her out.
Oh my gosh.
And so then she starts seeing Dr. Greenson in August of 1960. So the psychiatrist, Dr. Greenson, this is the psychiatrist that she was seeing at the end of her life. He's going to be there on the day she dies. Okay. Oh. And he has notes that claim she had tendencies toward paranoia, but she was not schizophrenic. That her reactions were more masochistic, likely from her childhood in foster homes and orphanages while her mom was in an asylum. So he is like, you know what is going to help heal her is if I bring her into my home, treat her as part of my family, let her interact with my family. Doesn't this seem unethical for your psychiatrist?
Yes.
And that was his course of treatment.
Right. That seems really weird.
Yep. So Arthur Miller and Norma get divorced in 1961.
And then she marries her psych.
He's married. He's married with children.
Whoa.
Like older children. So just a year and a half before her death now, she divorces Arthur Miller. And so let's talk about what was her life like leading up to her death. Because some claim she was in a deep depression. Others claim things were looking up. And again, all of this is important if we're trying to sort of assess whether this was a mentee be.
Right.
So her last film, The Misfits, was a box office disappointment. She was fired from her film Something's Gotta Give for poor performance. She was showing up late. She couldn't remember her lines. And she'd kind of become a bit of a shut-in. But again, before we get to the day of her death, it's really important, I think, for us to note how traumatic her life was. So as I mentioned, she was abandoned and lied to her whole childhood. She was sexually assaulted by multiple adults in her life.
Yeah.
You asked about her half-brother. So on her brother's 15th birthday,
1-5.
He dies of a kidney infection, I think. She is notified that her brother has died, and she does not even know that she has a brother. So it's surprise, you have a half brother, but he's dead.
Oh, no.
And then again, she claims that as an adult, she was turned down for jobs for refusing to give sexual favors. Because she's like, I did date men who helped my career, but I only dated men that I wanted to date. I was not going to just sleep with some rando to benefit my career.
Right.
And so some people think she was the OG Me Too girl. She was the first woman to really come out and talk about the casting couch drama.
Yeah.
And when she became famous, she actually had a stalker that tried to break into her house The police completely dismissed her concerns. And then the guy, her stalker, ended up being a cop. Anyway, like, very rough life. Again, all these marriages with, like, men who wanted something from her, didn't really care that much about her. So, August 4th, 1962, the day of her death. So we think that she probably died between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. on August 4th, 1962, but her official time of death was 3:50 a.m. on August 5th. So, what happened on August 4th? Her agent, Pat Newcomb, who's a female, stayed over the night before, and they planned to sunbathe by Norma's pool on August 4th. The housekeeper, Eunice Murray, arrived at 8:30 a.m. that morning, at which point she claimed Norma was already up tiling her kitchen floor. She had bought this like little bungalow in the Hollywood Hills, and she was getting it all spruced up. So Pat Newcomb, again, her agent, goes out shopping and returned home to what she says was an upbeat Norma. They were going to go over to Peter Lawford's house for dinner. Peter Lawford is an actor.
Okay.
Who was part of the Rat Pack.
Okay.
And also is the brother-in-law of the Kennedys.
Whoa.
Married to one of the Kennedy sisters. So we'll talk about him when we get into our theories.
Okay.
Dr. Ralph Greenson, the psychiatrist I had mentioned earlier, arrived for his daily psychiatric visits, and he claims that Norma was in a highly emotional condition. So he asked Pat Newcomb, her agent, to leave, and asked Murray, the housekeeper, to stay the night with Norma.
Okay.
By the way, Pat Newcomb, the agent, apparently was also banging RFK. But apparently Pat Newcomb apparently was having a bit of an affair with RFK.
Okay.
But that's all going to tie up when we get into the Kennedys later.
Okay.
So Dr. Greenson claims he left the house at 7 p.m.
Okay.
Peter Lawford,
Okay.
Kennedy brother-in-law, says that he called Norma at 7:30 p.m. because she was supposed to come to dinner. He was like, just come on over. And she sounded depressed and was slurring her speech.
Oh, no.
Oh, he's already drugged her.
He claims she said, quote, "Say goodbye to Pat, say goodbye to Jack, and say goodbye to yourself because you're a nice guy." When they said say goodbye to Pat, this could be Peter Lawford's wife. Her name was Pat.
Right.
People are going to argue later. It could be Pat Newcomb, her agent.
Oh.
Say goodbye to Jack, so that would be President Kennedy.
Okay.
And say goodbye to yourself because you're a nice guy. The actor later admitted that he had a gut feeling that something was wrong, and he still blames himself for not going to her home himself, which I would say that if Kate called me and I was slurring my words and depressed, I feel like Kate would be like, I better go check on my friend.
Yeah, I gotta go.
But like a wellness check.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta make sure everything's okay.
Yeah. Her housekeeper claimed that she went to bed at 8 p.m. and around 3:25 a.m., she noted that the lights were on under Norma Jeane's door. Why was the housekeeper up at 3:25 in the morning?
Maybe she was peeing. Was Norma making a ruckus?
You would be. Norma was not making a ruckus because Norma's been dead for over 5 hours.
I forgot.
Oh, no, Norma.
She called out to Norma and knocked at the door, and there was no answer. So she said
had to have been up peeing.
So she says she went outside and peered into the bedroom through the closed French windows.
Okay.
And she sees an arm stretched across the bed and a hand hung limp on a telephone. So there was a telephone in her hand.
Who was she talking to?
That's the question.
Oh my God.
Or was she reaching to
Call 911 or
call
something.
someone? Yeah.
She calls a psychiatrist, Dr. Greenson, who arrived. He broke a pane out of this French door and enters the room and finds the movie star nude, face down on her bed with a telephone in one hand.
Oh.
Empty pill bottles were scattered around the room.
Okay.
And he said, immediately, guys, she's gone. She's dead. So he calls Dr. Engelberg, her personal physician.
Okay.
And after Dr. Engelberg shows up, then they call 911. So
That's strange.
That's
It
not
is-
where I did things.
4:20 a.m., almost an hour after the housekeeper had called Dr. Greenson, before
They
Again,
call 911.
they call the police.
No, that's weird. They should immediately have called the police.
Yeah. The coroner ruled the death, quote, probable suicide. Joe DiMaggio handled Norma Jeane's funeral.
Okay.
He had her buried in a private ceremony in Westwood Village
Oh.
near Grace Goddard and Goddard's aunt Anna Lauer. Both of these are people who, Grace Goddard is the one who actually took guardianship of her,
Okay.
who was friends with her mom.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Did Joe DiMaggio ever get married again? I feel like he just held a candle for her.
He did. And apparently, so the rumor is, we're kind of jumping ahead, but that they had rekindled their relationship.
Okay.
And were maybe even engaged. And we're going to talk more about Joe DiMaggio. But the point is that he chose to bury her in Westwood Village, which is a very famous Hollywood cemetery. But he's like, the people that were most family to her, I would argue they were not great family because, again, Grace Goddard's husband assaulted her, and then they kicked her out of the house for her protection. But like, why don't you kick your husband out of the house and protect this poor girl?
Right. Because Me Too wasn't a thing then.
And Anna was Grace Goddard's aunt, who's the one who kind of took care of her at the end. But then they were moving to West Virginia, and so she was like, marry the neighbor.
Oh,
so these are two people who were like most kind of supportive of her. So he wanted them to all be together.
Okay.
He also sent flowers to her grave twice a week for 20 years.
Oh.
But here's what really disgusts me.
Oh, no.
A couple of men after her death are still taking advantage of her. So Hugh Hefner, who made her a Playboy playmate without her consent, he decided he was going to buy the spot next to her. So he is now buried next to her.
That's creepy. Dude, we should have known.
Yeah. More
He
disgustingly,
didn't look like a great guy.
there's this random creep who bought the plot on top of her.
Oh.
And he requested to be buried face down.
Oh, my God.
And his wife made that happen when he died.
Ew. That's
So I'm like, this poor girl who was a victim her whole life. The case was reopened in 1982 by LA DA John Vandekamp, but after a few months, the case was closed, and he was like, we're going to hold that it was suicide, okay?
okay.
So that's the official story. Let me tell you about the holes in the story.
Like, it was suicide. Like, are they saying it's purposeful?
That would be suicide, yes.
So it's not accidental overdose. They're
No.
saying it's actual.
They called it a probable suicide.
Oh.
So let me type out the holes.
Okay.
The whole, what makes this, why are we not just like, oh, this lady had a rough life and she killed herself, okay?
Right.
So, these meds are not meds we use now.
Okay.
The overdose was sleeping pills and muscle relaxants, okay? So, levels of chloral hydrate were so high, this is a sleeping pill.
Okay.
It says in order for these levels to be this high, she would have had to ingest all of this medication within a very short time. So, probably about 1 minute.
Oh.
There was no trace of the capsules found in her stomach.
Okay.
There was no water, no empty cup in the room. Would you just take 50 pills dry in a minute?
I could do maybe 2.
Yeah, I could do 2 like
Like,
a lead.
if I had a lot of spit.
You can't do 50 pills dry.
So
What else has that product then? What do you lead into?
there were just a bunch of empty pill containers,
Okay.
But no capsules, like you said.
no capsules. She had a bruise on her hip. She had this bruise on her hip. So some theorize she could have been given a shot, maybe.
Oh.
There's another theory that someone else administered these drugs via an enema.
Oh.
So
You
hold
can
that.
do that?
Hold
Yeah,
that thought.
the anal option.
Apparently, she had been given medications via enema in the past by her psychiatrist.
Do you think
And
she
one
would
of
have
the-
given herself
I
that?
don't think so. And one of the theories out there is that her housekeeper used to help administer these enemas.
Well, when you do it that way, it is like way stronger, right? Like if you butt chug alcohol, it's like you get drunk way faster.
Yeah, but that's because alcohol is very easily absorbed in your system.
But would meds be like
But
that?
I think it
when
depends on
comes
what
to-
the substance is.
I don't know if it, because isn't rectal, like anything that goes, like any rectal drug, it's like the absorption is variable.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't think you can say that all meds are better absorbed.
that way.
And also that's why we give different, like when we're giving medications rectally, the dose is not the same
Right.
as the dose given orally.
Because it has different
Absorption,
yeah,
different properties.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, Norma's housekeeper,
Yeah.
when the police showed up, what do you think she was doing?
Cleaning?
Drinking.
Cleaning. Washing the bed sheets
Oh no.
in the middle of the night.
No.
She knows something.
Suspicious.
She knows something.
Were there enema remnants on the sheets?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know what there was.
Maybe it was accidental and the cleaning lady was helping her, but maybe like she died and the cleaning lady didn't want to take the L for it.
Okay, hold that thought.
It also could be like she didn't know what else to do, so she cleaned.
Yeah.
Well, she gets a little suspicious.
She probably was like, I'm sure Norma wouldn't want this in the news.
What's her cleaning lady's name? Yolanda?
No.
She feels like a Yolanda.
Eunice Murray.
Eunice.
So there's an untold amount of mysterious documents that were stuffed into shopping bags and removed by her business manager, Inez Melson, within 48 hours of Norma's death. And this was all done while the police were taking statements. They're like taking statements.
What has she been mixed up?
Oh, yeah, girl, just you. Wait.
Okay, all right.
Just you wait. But the police are just like interviewing people and taking statements. They're like, oh, look, her business manager is just hauling bags of documents out. And no one is like, hey, pause. There's an investigation happening, you know?
That is weird.
Key forensic evidence went missing shortly after she died. The ME said he removed her organs and sent them for testing, but those organs just disappeared.
Of course they did.
They just sent her organs for testing?
Yeah. And, well, because I wanted to specifically see, like, for example, we have this enema theory, right? Well, if we had, like, her colon, they're like, because it is documented that, like, there was some discoloration to, like, the distal end of her colon, which is part of how this enema theory came to be.
Okay.
And so he's like, oh, I took out part of the GI system and sent it off for further testing to like verify that theory. But then they just disappeared.
What?
That sounds really
That
weird.
is so sketchy.
Dr. Noguchi, the ME, is the same one who did RFK's autopsy.
Oh.
He also did Marilyn Monroe's.
Of course.
So,
he did RFK's, but not JFK's.
Well, JFK was in Texas.
Right.
The mystery ambulance. So there was this mystery ambulance story. Again, we have all these hours that have elapsed before her body was turned over to the medical examiners.
They just mishandled this so badly. It's like JonBenet all over again.
Oh, there was a man who is a paramedic. He
Okay.
claims he went to the house that night and they actually picked her up and took her to the hospital. And this was confirmed by the ambulance company and 7 witnesses.
They picked her up and went to the hospital.
This is not in the official story.
She was
so this
already
is what they're
dead.
saying. The official story is, 4:30 in the morning, they find her dead in her bed. Okay. But there's this other story with all these other witnesses saying, what are you talking about? An ambulance was called. We showed up. We picked her up. We started to take her to the hospital. She died in the ambulance. So we were told to take her back to the house. In fact, her psychiatrist, Dr. Greenson, was in the ambulance with her.
What?
So this is a side story that we have a handful of witnesses telling.
Doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why were they hiding it?
Yeah, why are they hiding it? There you go. Great question. In 1985, Eunice Murray let it slip that an ambulance had arrived while Norma was still alive.
Oh.
They were paying.
Totally different story from what was happening before.
What?
All the key witnesses that night, police, friends, psychiatrist, her attorney, her press agent, all of their stories contradict each other, and several of them change stories. So we do not have people are hiding something.
There's definitely something being hidden.
Maybe, again, like you're saying, they didn't actually kill her, but they were involved in a cover-up, or there was again, I asked Ari, why was the housekeeper up at 3 a.m.? But Kate is convinced that most people pee all the time at night because they hydrate. So.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't pee at night that much. I really don't. Which I think that would make you surprised, Megan.
It does surprise me.
No, I have really good bladder control. You think that I pee all the time, but
Well, can I just interrupt to say that Kate messaged that they had to throw out her daughter's mattress because she was spilling water.
You threw her mattress away?
All night long. She was constantly spilling water on the mattress.
God, what was she using in the bed?
She got her water next to the bed. She spills it so often at night that she had mold growing in her mattress.
Oh my God. But
why does she need water at night? She should be sleeping.
Why does she have it in a water bottle with a lid?
she does all of the things.
Back in my day,
That's weird.
you didn't drink water at night. You went to sleep. We also didn't have water bottles in my day.
No.
You just
No, you had cups.
were thirsty. No, you would stop at a water fountain and have a couple sips and go about your day.
You didn't have cups of water at home, Megan? That's kind of weird.
Not like this where you have 18 cups around. No.
Oh, that sounds weird, Megan. You weren't allowed to drink water.
I just wasn't
Where the
obsessed
pantry's locked.
like these days.
Sounds awful.
Back on track here, okay? The story is, as I mentioned, that she was discovered by Eunice at 3:30 a.m. And then, they called all these people. Well, her publicist was at a concert at the Hollywood Bowl with his wife.
Okay.
And his wife, his widow, says that he had to leave this concert early at 10:30 p.m. after he received a phone call summoning him to the house because there was an emergency. So why would her publicist be summoned to the house 4 hours before the discovery of her body?
Yeah. It sounds like she was like murdered.
Yeah, it does sound suspicious, huh?
But like, why would they have murdered?
Let me tell you why.
What's the incentive?
Colleen wants to know
What's the incentive?
why. You guys agree right now. This sounds like something suspicious. Probably
This is
some murder.
very suspicious to me.
But why? Okay, so here are the theories.
Okay.
Theory one.
Bob.
Well, theory one is the official story. This was all a suicide. Okay.
I don't think suicide.
That's the
at all.
official story, but that's not the story we believe.
I don't think suicide at all.
Well, let me just give the facts for this one before we move on to the more exciting ones, okay?
Okay.
Allegedly, she was in this darkest point of her life. Kate, you said you thought she was at like the
Yeah, I
top
thought
of
she
her
was at
career.
career.
That was about 2 years prior.
Okay.
And now she really was like struggling.
Okay.
But those close to her say it really wasn't that dark of a period, that actually things were on a very positive trajectory for her. So again, I told you she had been fired from Fox for like, couldn't remember her lines, wasn't showing up. But then they were like, you know what? When we put together like the 3 minutes of actual film we got
was
of her, it was good. So she had actually just been rehired
Okay.
on that film, rehired by Fox, rehired on that film.
Okay. Sounds like it's a little sexist.
Yeah. She had grossed the studios the equivalent of what would today be $2 billion. So like if she's having a hard time, hopefully they're going to like work with her because she has made a lot of money for them.
Right.
She also apparently had reunited with Joe DiMaggio, and they allegedly may have had secret plans to remarry in the coming days. In the previous month, she had written a letter to her old acting coach talking about her dream of setting up an independent film production company with Marlon Brando. And we heard from Joe DiMaggio's son, Joe DiMaggio Jr., that he had actually talked to her at 7:30 p.m. the night of her death. And he had told her he was breaking off an engagement that she had disapproved of. And he said she was very upbeat at the news and she seemed to be in good spirits. So that's very contradictory from the official story we have, that like this lady had was just like on the decline, getting old, getting fired,
Right.
that kind of thing. Okay. Theory 2, the Kennedys.
Oh.
So I had always heard that JFK and Marilyn Monroe had like this torrid affair.
Right.
She sung him happy birthday.
She sang him happy birthday. Honestly, we don't have a ton of hard evidence, but my assessment based on what I have seen, heard, and read is that she maybe slept with JFK 1 or 2 times in the 50s while he was a senator, but that the torrid affair was really with RFK
Right.
in the year preceding her death.
Wait, I feel like I knew this. How did I know this?
Well, I think there's rumors like that she slept with both of them,
Right.
but it really sounds like the relationship
was
was RFK.
yeah.
And why are the Kennedy men such, douches to their wives? Like RFK's wife's at home with 10 kids? Well, we can blame their father for that because he said, get laid as often as you can with as many women as you can. And that's what they did. She was friendly with the kids of her therapist, and she had told the daughter, because remember, he was like, spend time with my family and we're going to heal you.
Right.
So the daughter says that she had told her that she had a new man who was very important, and she called him the General. Do you know what the code name for RFK was?
Was he the general?
Because he was the Attorney General.
What?
Wait, so she's doing this while also rekindling with Maggiano or whatever?
Joe DiMaggio.
Yep. Maggiano.
Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, but what am I saying?
Is
Maggiano's a restaurant.
Yeah. I don't understand.
We also know that she talked about, I think she had a lot of men in her life, okay? We also know that she talked about Prez, so that would be, JFK. And as I mentioned, so the Kennedy sister was married to Peter Lawford, who I think they might have had a fling way back in the day, Marilyn Monroe and him. But like, the theory is that like when they were having this relationship, that was kind of the cover. They would all go to Peter Lawford's house. Then the Kennedys could hang out with Marilyn.
Oh.
So if you,
Both boys at the same time?
it doesn't really
I
sound
really like that head motion you just did, Megan. That was a keyword for like.
So I mean, there are rumors that was the case. It was both, but honestly, I think really what I believe is that she slept with JFK a couple times and then moved on, as I mentioned. So if you believe that she was in a relationship with RFK and that she did not kill herself, then there's a couple of potential scenarios. We know that she hung with known communists and was being monitored by the FBI. I mean, do you remember? Well, you probably don't, Kate. Do you remember, or neither one of you probably does, Arthur Miller was like one of the most famous people who had to testify during the McCarthy hearings because he was allegedly a communist?
No.
Okay. The rumor was that Arthur Miller was this big communist, you know, she's married to him, and then she is having like pillow talk with the Kennedys, and she's off chatting with people about conversations she's had with them. And so, you know, maybe she's too reckless and can't keep a secret. And now people are like,
why they killed her off.
yeah, maybe people are like, this alleged communist has the ear of the president and or the attorney general. Like, that's not good. Did the CIA kill her as an act of revenge on the Kennedys for the failed Bay of Pigs? She's allegedly on tape to her therapist saying the CIA knew about her and RFK and that she could hurt the Kennedy family.
Oh.
Did they hear that she... So like, are we concerned about sharing top secret intel? Are the Kennedys concerned, right, about like their image? Like, did the Kennedys take her out? Did the CIA take her out? There was a CIA agent who allegedly reported on his deathbed that he had killed her, but then we found out this was all like a hoax and not real. So I don't know, but like the Kennedys, again, did the Kennedys want to handle this themselves? Did they fear that she would ruin their reputation? She was threatening that, like, one of the theories is that RFK had broken up with her because he was like, ooh, this is like, you're sharing my secrets. This is not a good look. And let's end this. And now she's like an angry mad woman. She's threatening to disclose everything after RFK cut her off. There's some theories that J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, helped cover up the murder.
J. Edgar Hoover, wasn't he a president?
He was the head of the FBI.
We did have a Hoover.
President?
We did have a Hoover.
Herbert Hoover.
Yeah.
Herbert.
Or like, did RFK end the relationship and so that's why she killed herself? That's another theory. There are rumors.
I don't think she killed herself.
There are rumors that she was going to hold a press conference the following week. So were they trying to silence her? And her friend and hairdresser claimed that she had called him twice, quite hysterical, to say that Kennedy had been in her house with Lawford and they were threatening her. There are rumors that the last call she made was to the White House, but I can't fact check that. But apparently the number was found on a piece of paper in her bed to the White House. So people are like, did she call Jackie O? Is that what was happening? Was she just calling like where the Kennedys need to talk to somebody? I don't know.
Could you imagine just calling the White House?
Yeah. Just having a direct line.
Yeah.
Why don't you just call Taylor up? Do the Kennedys have an alibi?
Wait, do the Kennedys have an alibi?
I'm so happy you asked. So they always denied that they were in LA on the night that she died. But reporters discovered that RFK took a helicopter to the airport at 2 a.m. that morning. But this story was not initially published out of respect for the Kennedys. It has since been revealed. Also, in the 1980s.
I'm sure there was some hush money.
Well, I think people just had like respect for the office. The office back then too. And now we don't.
No respect for the office ever.
Also in the 1980s, a police deposition came to light in which RFK admitted to being in Norma's house with Dr. Greenson. In 1985, her housekeeper changed her story and told BBC that RFK had been at the home that day and that her brother-in-law, who was the handyman, had also seen him there. Just after midnight, a Beverly Hills police officer pulled over a car that was speeding 70 miles per hour in a 25 zone and claims that he saw Lawford in the driver's seat, an unknown male in the passenger seat, and RFK in the back seat. And they said, we're just taking him to his hotel to get his luggage. So was that delay in calling 911 to get RFK out of California? And did he
So he killed her and then ran?
I mean, we're going to talk about, I'm just giving the theories and we'll talk about it. Did he clear out all the photo evidence? Because to this day, only one photo of Marilyn Monroe with RFK or JFK exists. And it's the photo after she sang him happy birthday and they're both in it with her. And that's it. So people are like, yeah, people are leaving with all this paperwork. Were they trying to, so like, did RFK kill her or was RFK just trying to like, she's dead and now I need to conceal
the evidence,
the affair, and remove any incriminating information.
Alleged. We think the CIA killed RFK too, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Or like the mob for the CIA.
Well, that was JFK.
That was JFK.
Right.
Was the
I
mob.
forgot.
Right. Yeah. Also interesting is that apparently she kept a little black book of her dalliances.
Oh.
But you know what was never found?
What?
Her little black book.
Of course.
So,
Took it.
yes. Again, was this all like, we got to clean the scene? Like something happened. She was murdered or she killed herself. They put her in the ambulance. She dies.
Brought her back.
They bring her back. They're like, we got to clean the scene. We got to get RFK out of here. And then they find her. So, Kate, you thought maybe the mafia, right?
Yep.
So, again, if you've listened to any of our assassination episodes in the past, you know
It's always the mob.
RFK was coming hard for the mob.
Right. And they didn't like it.
Nope. Because the JFK really got elected by
He was going to take him down.
No, he got elected by like backdoor deals with the mob. And then they're like, you know what? RFK's like, my position is we're going to take down organized crime. And these people are like, wait, we helped your brother get elected.
Yeah, we helped you.
And so that's why there was all this bad blood. And then again, we've talked about like the Bay of Pigs and how the
Right.
Cuban embargo lost the mobs all this money because they had casinos set up in Cuba. So apparently, famous mobster Hoffa pays a PI to get dirt on the Kennedys. And the PI wiretapped Norma. She had a lot of people wiretapping her.
Mhm.
Okay. And so they tapped the hookup spot, which was Lawson's house.
Whoa.
And so again, was she killed as a message to the Kennedys? Was it a favor to the Kennedys? There are some mobsters out there who claim that they killed her with a suppository on the orders of the CIA. And again,
I mean, you never know.
A murder
honestly.
suppository.
and then there's a side theory that
How embarrassing.
then there's a side theory that the mob could have done it in order to get RFK questioned, which would force him to step down. And then, it would kind of ruin the Kennedy name. And so was this all like, we're going to kill her. The press is going to
Go wild.
RFK is going to have to like make a deposition and it's going to be the end of the Kennedy reign.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other theory.
Oh, I like that theory.
And then there's
And they could have taken the photos and been like, we can release these or we can destroy them.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And then there's the accidental theory, which was Colleen's theory. So Eunice...
What theory was this?
Yeah, like she accidentally overdosed.
Yeah.
Or Eunice was helping her do drugs.
Yeah. So Eunice Murray and her psychiatrist, Dr. Greenson, this would be the theory, administer a barbiturate-laced enema to calm Norma down because apparently she was very upset about RFK ending the relationship. Well, this barbiturate could have interacted with the other drugs in her body, causing unexpected death. There's also, it sounds like some of these drugs she had been taking, they had actually tapered her off. But then if she took them again, so she would have had like a much lower
Threshold.
Yeah. Right. Also, there's some rumors that Norma was going to fire Dr. Greenson.
Okay.
And
Didn't like that.
in fact, guess who Norma had already fired?
Her cleaning lady.
Eunice. Her last day of work was supposed to be August 4th.
Wait, that's the cleaning lady, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I was right.
As far as
What?
So those are the big theories.
Why did she fire her?
Insubordination. There's also a rumor that like the Kennedys had told her about UFOs, and so she was killed to, not reveal those secrets.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rumor she faked her death, and there is a version that like she faked her death and then entered a psychiatric facility. There's some like weird rumor that she maybe overdosed at Lake Tahoe and was like repositioned. And then there's like a rumor that maybe Joe DiMaggio had something to do with it. But again, I think the big theories are like the Kennedys, the mob, the housekeeper, and the doctor.
Okay.
Those are the big theories. So what do you guys think? Final thoughts.
Okay,
Oh my
I think that it could be the doctor giving her medications to kind of calm her down and then being like, uh-oh, I did too much. Or I like the idea of the mafia doing it and then blackmailing RFK. Those are my two faves. Yeah, I don't think it was a suicide.
Yeah.
Definitely not a suicide. It's weird that she fired them all. Like, that makes me think like she was having a mental.
So to be clear, we know for a fact she had fired Eunice, the housekeeper, and this was supposed to be her last day. But then also, can you imagine if you've been fired to your last day, like, and you need to spend the night?
It sounds like she was unstable.
Dr. Greenson is a rumor. We don't know that Dr. Greenson was fired. That's just like one of the theories. And like she was like his one-on-one patient.
Right.
He's seen her every day, and if now she's like,
What if he was making her worse, not better?
But we only have one picture of her with RFK.
yeah, and it's RFK and JFK will post it to Instagram, and they're just like kind of chit-chatting after he sang to her, because you know who wasn't present when she sang Happy Birthday?
RFK?
No.
Oh, who?
Jackie O.
Oh, well, poor Jackie.
Well, people are like, maybe Jackie knew, and she was like, I'm not coming to watch your ex-mistress
Right.
say you happy birthday. I don't believe it's suicide. I don't really know that I think maybe RFK ended it with her. I guess I could believe the story that RFK ended it with her, and then they were trying to subdue her and they accidentally killed her. I do think a lot of the weird stuff was about them trying to conceal the Kennedys' association with her. So like, we need to go and we need to find the little black book. We need to take out any photo evidence. We need to, how they forgot to remove the slip of paper with the White House phone number on it. I don't know. Yeah, I think probably a lot of the stuff could be explained by like a weird cover up. But the fact that she had it just seems odd that like an enema is the way to go. Like,
Yeah, that was like the thing that I
yes, probably more likely.
I just feel like isn't it just like not rapidly absorbed?
I don't know. It just makes sense.
Especially if they're pills, they would have to have been crushed.
I'd probably more so believe this shot theory, like the bruise in the hip. Like, it just seems weird to be like, we have a walking, talkie patient, and our best route to medicate them is via enema.
Yeah, that's weird.
No, I think maybe someone gave her a shot and then she accidentally died, and then it was all a big cover up to protect everyone else.
Right.
But as far as the most interesting version, I think you're right. I think the fact that it would be like the mafia doing this all in hopes of the Kennedys getting looked at and hopefully ending their reign is an interesting theory.
Yeah, because wasn't the mafia also like sort of mixed in with the CIA at this point too?
Well, we talk a lot with JFK that yes, it was all.
They were kind of like blurred lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could, again, we could say the CIA is like this potential communist is a little too close to the president, the attorney general. And
I forgot about the communists.
And we need the mafia, like, and hey, mafia, can you?
Yeah. And then we'll just clean up your mess.
We're just making a lot of hand gestures and tongue clicking, but yeah. Okay, well, you guys let us know what you think, because this is not, I feel like with the other assassinations, I've had a pretty firm
This is very, you could convince me of every option.
Yeah. Except suicide. I don't believe suicide.
I don't believe in the suicide. Especially how fast you would have had to take those pills.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Dry swallow these pills. And then they said like all the pills.
The saltine, what is it, like the saltine challenge?
What is that, a challenge? How many saltines can you?
You can't take like you can't eat 6 saltines in a minute because you're
too
dry.
Oh,
I'm going to try it next time at work.
The pill bottles were like lined up very nicely on her nightstand. And some people thought that was like weird. Like it was like not a typical, like if she's taking pills and she's high and like pill bottles should be knocking over. And it's just like not, and the rest of the room was like apparently she was kind of a disgusting human being.
Oh.
Like didn't shower very often. And like her room looked a little bit like hoarders, you know. But
mentally.
Yeah, I'm sure it's related to like depression but I guess then that could go into this whole suicide theory. I don't know. Okay. Well, yeah, you guys let us know what you think, because we're all not super sure. Huh?
Yeah. Not a suicide.
I just am firmly not the suicide.
Mm-hmm.
In that sort of basket. It's not suicide.
Yeah.
But will we ever know?
Well, like the other ones, we probably never will know. But they're doing
even though apparently the Kennedy papers have been released. The documents have been released, but just like it's so much.
There's also all these stories about like maybe she was pregnant with one of the Kennedys' kids and would have been forced to like have an abortion or something. I think I read the autopsy. She was not pregnant when they did the autopsy, but also I was like, she had such a hard time getting pregnant. That would be really sad if like
Right.
that was the only pregnancy she could have. I had thought I had read that like in the Kennedy declassified, there was something about her at one point being pregnant. That was like in the secret. But then when I tried to Google that to fact check that, I couldn't find that anywhere. So maybe that's just like a social media lie I saw or something. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. RFK broke up with her. She was upset. I believe RFK saw her, was there the night that she died at some point. And that's what I got.
Guys, just a reminder, don't forget to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages at 3 Scheme Queens. That's the number 3 Scheme Queens, all one word. We're also on Reddit, same username. If you want to check out our website, go to 3schemequeens.com and you can find links to our social media accounts, our Buzzsprout page, all of our episodes, additional content, our contact page, and our discussion board where you can engage with us and share any updates on the topics that we have discussed. Let us know how we're doing and what you want to hear next. There are also opportunities to financially support us. There are links to buy us a cup of coffee, links to our recently updated merch store, and affiliate links. And as always, if you choose not to financially support us, we appreciate the follows, the downloads, listens, the likes.
Okay, what should people do?
Yeah. If you like this episode, I want you to take out your phone, text it to 3 people that are Yankees fans in your lives, or Boston fans, or like Marilyn Monroe, or really enjoyed Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, maybe some theater fans for Arthur Miller,
Yeah. And then after you do that, I want you to scroll on down, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a comment, share us with your friends and family, interact with us on our social media platforms, and yeah.
All right, we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.